In times of uncertainty, everything feels out of control, like we're really going off the deep end. And as we battle against the forces of evil and mentally deranged lunatics for our country, join me as we dive into the headline news from my perspective, and I'll give you my 2 cents.
Good afternoon, everyone. Packed house here today, and I have a very special guest with us, the Vice President of the United States. He'll deliver some remarks and take some questions. First, I just want to share remarks of my own. Democrats in Congress have officially shut down the United States government. House Republicans passed a nonpartisan, clean piece of legislation to extend current government funding until November 21st. But nearly every single Democrat senator voted against this bill. To be clear, this was the exact same bill that Democrats approved 6 short months ago in March, just adjusted for inflation. This is the same kind of clean funding bill that Democrats passed 13 separate times when they held the majority during Joe Biden's administration. So the American people woke up this morning and asked the obvious question. Why is the government shut down right now?
We've already all heard it.
The answer is pure partisan politics being played by the Democrat Party. The Democrats shut down the government because President Trump and the Republicans will not force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegal aliens. America is $37 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to provide taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals who broke the law to enter our country. To put this all into perspective, the Democrats refused to keep the government open over health care to illegal aliens and now have jeopardized critical health care programs for American citizens instead. The Women, Infants, and Children program, community health center funding.
Why do these people continue going sideways? Why do they keep driving their head in the ground? Are these like totally, even the Democrats are aliens? I mean, isn't their mail get stopped too? I mean, I know their paycheck stops on some of them. They got nothing else to fight with. They got nothing else to do to throw at Donald Trump. They're out of gas. They're throwing all the punches they can, and no matter what it is Donald Trump's doing, they're totally against it. Nope, and it doesn't matter. And first it was getting rid of crime, and then it is getting crime. But you know, I'm going to tell you about we'll talk about it in a minute.
Medicare treatment options and other health programs are now all at risk because of the Democrats rejecting the clean CR. The most vulnerable in our country are being punished because the Democrats want to prioritize illegals over American citizens. And if Democrats actually cared about health care, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump just yesterday in the Oval Office. He took a bold and massively popular action to improve our healthcare system. He announced the first agreement with a major pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, to lower drug costs for Americans. This is a historical achievement long sought by past Democrat presidents that only President Trump was able to get done. Also yesterday, while the Democrats were whining about health care for illegal aliens, President Trump signed a powerful executive order to supercharge American AI innovation and unlock cures for pediatric cancer patients in the United States. While President Trump took action to lower drug prices and improve the lives and the care of American children with cancer, again, Democrats are fighting to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. The Trump administration is fully committed to lower...
And their children need medical care too. They certainly do. Everybody deserves to be taken care of, one way or another. But there's some simple rules that go along with coming in the country. You got to come in through the front door as a welcome guest. Otherwise, you're breaking it. You're being rude. You're breaking the rules. Time to go. Get in the back.
Lowering healthcare costs and advancing policies that will save American lives. But right now, we need to keep the government open and funded. And individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans. The labor union leader, the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, sent a very blunt message to Democrats.
You know, this woman could run for president. after J.D. Vance gets his 8 years, she could be the first female president. In fact, I'm going to make that prediction right now. I'm going to post it.
Over their destructive
I'm going to start it right now. I'm going to start the rumor.
Antics. He said American workers are not bargaining chips. Senators need to stop screwing around and pass the House-passed clean short-term funding bill. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest business organization, called to immediately pass the Republican Clean CR, saying, quote, shutdowns are harmful to the economy, the American people, and our national security. And even Democrat Senators Cortez Masto and Fetterman acknowledged that their party is betraying the American people with this costly and chaotic Democrat shutdown. Enough is enough. Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened, and this is proven in a New York Times poll showing that 2 in 3 Americans say the government should not be shut down by the Democrats, even if their absurd demands are not met. The president and Republicans are working very hard to reopen the federal government. The vice president here has been crucial in this effort. We encourage all Americans across the country, call your Democrat senators and encourage them to reopen the government. That's what President Trump and the vice president want to do. And with that, I will turn it over to our great vice president, J.D. Vance.
Great.
J.D.
Well, thank you, Carolina, and good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon to everybody who's watching at home. It's a tough act to follow, but let me just say a few things, then I'll take a few questions. Number one, Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering health care costs, and yet, when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen. What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to healthcare funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition. Let me say two other quick things, and then again, I'll take some questions. Number one, we all understand that Democrats and Republicans have policy disagreements. The Democrats want to do things. Look, when Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were in here a couple of days ago, they made some suggestions that the president was more than happy to say.
They're getting disgusting. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they're like renegade drunk teenagers. They're just literally half-cocked, dreaming up shit.
Yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the healthcare crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the healthcare crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say that we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want, which, as Caroline says, includes giving billions of dollars of taxpayer funding for healthcare for illegal migrants. That's ridiculous. You don't have policy disagreements that serve as the basis for a government shutdown. Let's have the conversation about how to fix American healthcare, about how to make healthcare more accessible. As the president showed, he's more than willing to act on behalf of the American people for this very reason. What you don't do is say, unless you do exactly what we want to do as congressional Democrats, we're taken hostage. And the hostage, it turns out, is critical, essential services that the American people need. Caroline talked about some of it. Let me talk about some more. Our troops are not getting paid starting today because of the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democratic Party. We have people who require food assistance, low-income Americans who require food assistance, who will not get it unless we reopen the government, thanks to Chuck Schumer and his wing of the Democratic Party. We have flood insurance as we start hurricane season in the southeastern part of our country. That flood insurance is going to disappear because of Chuck Schumer and the far left of the Democratic Party. We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them. But let's reopen the government before we have our negotiation about health care policy. That's what the American people demand, and that's certainly what the President of the United States wants. Let me make one final point. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as Caroline said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? And there are a lot of different spins that we can put on it, a lot of different answers that we could give, all of them true. One answer I already gave is that they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off healthcare benefits for illegal aliens. That's one of the things that they asked for. But the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix healthcare policy for the American people. Questions?
There you go, there you go.
Mr. Vice President.
That's a lot. Matt Boyle.
Mr. Vice President, there's two key Democrat lies I would like to get your take on and see if you can address. The first is that you're seeing a number of top Democrat leaders, from Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer to Hakeem Jeffries, claim that it is a Republican shutdown caused by Trump. The second is that they're out there now claiming that they don't want to give healthcare to illegal aliens.
We don't care what they claim.
Can you address both of those lies from the Democrat?
We know it's just
so on the point that it's a Republican shutdown, look, it's obviously a Democratic shutdown. Just look at the vote totals in the House, look at the vote totals in the Senate, and look at the President of the United States' own action and conduct throughout this crisis. Nearly every single House Republican voted to open the government, Matt. Nearly every single Senate Republican voted to open the government last night, and even to their credit, a few moderate Democrats voted to open the government. That's not a Republican shutdown when nearly every single Senate Democrat votes to shut it down and every Republican voted to open it up. It's just obviously not true. Now, you can disagree about a number of things, but you can't disagree about the obvious fact that Republicans voted to open the government. The president stands ready to sign that opening of the government. We just need a few more Democrats to join us in that effort to open the government. Your final question about illegal alien benefits. Look, the text is very clear, and I even saw, I think it was George Stephanopoulos in an interview with Mike Johnson, did a fact check that was totally rooted in baseless claims. It was basically Democrat propaganda. If you look at the legislative text that they gave us, they tried to turn on two separate provisions that would give health care benefits to illegal aliens. Number one, if you're an American citizen, you've been to a hospital in the last few years, you probably noticed that wait times are especially large, and very often somebody who's there in the emergency room waiting is an illegal alien, very often a person who can't even speak English. Why do those people get health care benefits at hospitals paid for by American citizens? The answer is a decision made by the Biden administration that the Trump administration, working with congressional Republicans, undid. We turned off that money spigot to health care funding for illegal aliens. The Democrats, in their legislative text, want to turn it back on. That's one thing. The second thing, Matt, is we all know that there are various ways in which the Biden administration waved away illegal immigration status. They gave parolees, they gave asylum claims to people who weren't really claiming asylum. And when they waved the magic wand of amnesty, giving millions of people legal status even though they were in the country illegally, they also gave those people access to health care benefits. So what the Democrats are engaging in is a sleight of hand. They're saying, no, no, no. Those weren't illegal aliens who were getting health care benefits, even though everybody, knows they were in the country illegally. It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. It's a lie that is obviously untrue if you just look at the text that they gave us, and all you have to do is understand that this is about who benefits. We think the American people's government ought to benefit American citizens. The Democrats are willing to shut it down to benefit illegal aliens. Yep. The contrast couldn't be more clear. Peter.
Thank you, Vice President Vance. The big holdup is, of course, that you guys say illegal immigrants are getting taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats say you're lying. That makes it feel like it could be a really long shutdown. Is this going to be a long shutdown?
I don't know. I can't predict what congressional Democrats are going to do, Peter, but I actually don't think it's going to be that long of a shutdown. This is a pure guess from the Vice President of the United States because I think you already saw some evidence that moderate Democrats are cracking a little bit. They understand the fundamental illogic of this. Look, for years, every single one of us, we can remember Barack Obama on the White House lawn. We can remember Chuck Schumer. We can remember, Nancy Pelosi for years. In Chuck Schumer's case, for literally decades, we've heard them say, You don't shut the government down over a policy disagreement. Okay, Republicans think this thing about healthcare, that thing about healthcare. Democrats think this thing about immigration, Republicans disagree. Whatever those disagreements are, you don't shut down the government over it. For the first time since the Democrats have been in politics, they're now saying that unless we get every policy item that we demand, we're going to shut down the people's government. They're trying to take a hostage, and we're not going to let them.
And the administration announced today that $18 billion bound for New York transportation projects is going to be frozen so it can't go to DEI programs there. But the timing of this, does announcing that today mean that you guys are going to squeeze Chuck Schumer's home state until he blinks?
Look, I haven't talked to Russ about this morning, but look, I'm sure that Russ is heartbroken about the fact that he's unable to give certain things to certain constituencies. We want to do everything that we can to help the American people, but when the